7:48.
Cool. All right. You ready? Yeah, get that chog of tea in the shot there. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hi, welcome to episode 5, Saturday Sauna Night. I'm one of your hosts, Steve.
I am Kyle.
Tonight we have a few things we kind of want to talk about. Our weekends. Last weekend, got out and reveled in the merriment of the fall season in different ways. So Kyle, I understand you spent some time at bird camp.
Yep.
That's true.
I did.
Did you guys get much hunting in, or was it mostly hanging out?
I count a total of 4 hours for me, maybe even less.
Like in the woods?
In the woods for a 2-nighter. So, bird camp is kind of becoming code for going to camp to watch college hockey and play cribbage.
Yeah. Well, honestly, deer camp can kind of be the same way. It sort of depends how early or late in the season you are, too.
Yeah, it was maybe a little warm or early, however you want to look at it still. I think we saw 2 birds the entire time. Otherwise it was pretty quiet, which is probably why we didn't spend a ton of time out in the woods.
So did anyone actually take a shot, or did you saw some birds, but...
I brought my .22. We shot that at a target.
Oh?
Didn't shoot a bird.
Can you even shoot a bird with that? You'd have to be...
I had my 12 gauge for the birds.
Well, no, I know. I was saying you have to be pretty good at anything. Unless it's a turkey.
I'm not going to try that, but technically you probably could.
So, you said you were out in the woods about 4 hours. I mean, what about the other guys? I mean, did you all go together? At the same times?
Typically we do. There was 3 of us. And the first time we went out, we took a walk together. The guy whose camp we were staying at has his deer blind out there, so we went and walked by that and made sure it's still standing and everything. And kind of took that walk together. Only saw I think we actually saw both of them on that walk. The second time we tried to go out, he left and thought we were behind him, but we were standing there at the camp for a good 15 minutes wondering where he went. I was just kind of walking circles trying to find him. Eventually I wandered off by myself and found him out in the middle of the woods, so that one was separate. But typically we would stick together. That was it.
So, I've never bird hunted. I mean, you don't have to get too deep into it, but when you guys go out, I mean, you just kind of drive around the back roads and like get out when you see some birds, or do you get out and actually like walk through the woods and look for...
So out at his camp we walk entirely. We just walk from the camp and cover trails.
That's convenient. That's nice.
But it's also pretty common, not with them, but I'll go fishing with pops. Hunting with pops, and that's usually road hunting in the truck. You see one up ahead, hop out and take your shot.
Yeah.
Maybe do a little bit of walking.
Huh. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, so wait, you said he had a deer blind set up. This is like a permanent blind.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't bow hunt?
He bow hunts.
He does?
There's a separate tree stand for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's typically, I guess from a tree stand.
This is your UP Tarzan. Your typical UP Tarzan.
Perfect. By the way, the reason I keep scrolling on my phone and refreshing is in about 7 minutes I'm going to attempt to register for next year's Marji Gesick. And so registration's supposed to open promptly at 8 p.m. So we have a little bit of time to kill before that happens, but
I decided not to do that.
Keep checking anyway. Well, yeah, and there's a long time. There's 11 months until the event next year. So in that time, all of the people who are freaking out tonight about getting an entry, many of them, I don't know the percent, but many of them are going to be selling those entries for various reasons, especially come July and August. It gets stuff starts to get real as it gets closer, and people realize they either in over their head or different life things come up and they can't come up to the UP for that weekend or whatever. So I'll keep checking, but
I guess as a quick way to fill the next 5 minutes or whatever's left, me and Steve are going to be going out to set up some deer blinds tomorrow, and we'll probably toss a line in the water same time
that's right.
for a couple hours.
Yeah, I haven't deer hunted. Well, I took a year off last year. We had our second daughter, and she was pretty little and just really busy at home. Still busy at home, that hasn't changed, but I'm going to try to at least get a little bit of time out there this year. I'm probably going to set up on the same tract of land I did the last 2 times, so 2019 and 2020 when I hunted. Neither of those years were successes. I got some pictures of bucks on camera at my spot, but never actually had one come in. So it'll be interesting to see how things have changed or not changed this year. So it's the tract we're going to be setting up on. I think it's either 80 acres or 120. There might even be more than that, because I think there's several parcels of commercial forest land that kind of overlap each other, and so we'll be setting up on that CFR land. So should be a good time. Part of the excitement for me is just getting out in the woods and setting up, and the anticipation of it, and just kind of like Kyle talked about earlier, like being at camp. I don't know if I'll get to spend a lot of time at deer camp this year, but that's like 90% of the fun. If you get a deer, that's just a bonus, honestly. Processing a deer, but is a lot of work, and thankfully in the past when I have got one, I've had a lot of help. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I shouldn't say I don't care about getting a deer, because I don't think you're supposed to say that. But I kind of don't care about getting a deer. It's about getting in the woods, especially this time of year when things are starting to cool off and you get all your colors and leaves are falling. And
yeah, it's a fun time to be outside. I mean, in one of our earlier episodes, I talked about how early summer, like June, is my favorite month to be outside, which is still true. But I don't know. If I had to pick a second favorite, it might be October, November. Yeah, really fun watching the change in seasons and getting to do a little bit of hunting too. He mentioned fishing too, and so in the last couple of years, the DNR changed the regulations in Michigan. So traditionally, the end of trout season was always the last day of September, which for streams, at least the majority of your classic brook trout streams, that's still true. So most of those are closed now. You can't fish them. However, designated trout lakes, so in the fishing guide they have trout lakes numbered or lettered A, B, C, D, I think up through F. Some of them are open year round, and then the others, the types A and D, are open from the last Saturday in April until the end of October. So Halloween is the last day for that. So there's a brook trout lake we won't name that we might try to get a little bit of time on tomorrow. And actually later this week, Friday, there's another nameless brook trout lake that I'm hoping to get to. So
very nice.
it's a story for another time, I guess. Oh, well, I'll talk about that later. I did a little bit of brook trout fishing this past weekend, and I saw one. Saw three, actually, which was more. It was more exciting than, I don't know, seeing three fish on the particular lake I was on was more exciting than catching a fish on certain other lakes. So, I'll talk about that after Marji registration, which is in 1 minute. Online registration will open. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, my screen's just glowing on there. You can't see that, but take my word for it. It says it'll open at 8 p.m. It's 7:59, and me and probably a couple thousand other people are refreshing. Again, not to kill the hype, but you know, there's plenty of other chances to get an entry to this if you don't tonight. But oh, here we go. 8 p.m. Come on. Oh, they're tricking us. Are they actually, though? So I just refreshed the page, and it tells me online registration will open at 8:15 p.m. The hosts of this event, they like to troll people. That's kind of the culture surrounding the event. A lot of community support, but also a lot of really sarcastic humor and tough love, and you know. Anyway, we'll sit here in silence, I guess, for 15 minutes. I guess they're not kidding. They're serious about this. Last year they announced. So previous years they haven't announced when the registration time was going to be until like closer to the event, or the day of actually. And they messed with people. Last year they said it's going to be at 8 p.m. No jokes, no nothing. Well, they set it up so that all day long it said you need a password to register, and so people were like trying to figure it out and stuff. Oh, here it is. It's open. Here we go. They were trolling us too.
8:01.
Yep. Right now I'm scrolling down to the bottom of this waiver. Just saying I agree. Type my initials. I don't want any special offers. Proceeding to checkout. So I'm registering for the 50-mile event, which, if you know anything about these events, actually is more like 60 miles. 60 miles of brutal single track. I mean,
So somewhere out there's somebody setting their phone aside for the next 13 minutes or so.
there's going to be some angry people, but that's okay. It's kind of funny. During high volume, processing may take up to 2 minutes. Oh boy, I hope this works. Okay, it says thank you and approved.
I think that means you're done.
I think so. Last year though, there was like a glitch where like some people, it charged their card, and they didn't actually get in. Oh, here we go. I got the confirmation email from Bike Reg. Misery loves company. I think I have a unique code here. Yep, I have like a unique QR code. Alright, they took my money. I have confirmation number. I got in! Alright. I sound excited now, but come like next August, I may or may not have that level of excitement. So, anyway, we can talk more about mountain biking another day, but I guess I'm in for the 2023 Marji Gesick 50. So we'll have to do a special on mountain biking, probably next summer sometime.
We'll stick a GoPro on Steve for that and make that an episode.
Well, I bought a cheap knockoff GoPro on Amazon.
Hmm.
And I actually took.
Joking.
No, I have one. Yeah, the battery sucks, but I took a few hours worth of fat biking footage last winter, which was very exciting because of how fast I ride on snow. All right. Well, now that that's done, um, any other thoughts on your weekend at bird camp? I mean, watching hockey, whatever you guys did. Cribbage. Who won? Who won cribbage?
I won 2 out of the 3 games I played.
Were you playing like
The other guys played more.
3-hand, 4-hand?
Huh?
How many of you guys were there?
3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't played cribbage in a long time. I was telling Kyle we should do an entire episode of this podcast where we just play cribbage. I have a cribbage board right over there. Actually, it's a Lake Superior board, so
Maybe next time.
maybe next time.
No, we can move on to your weekend.
My weekend, my color tour.
Color tour.
Yeah. Well, so the last couple years, basically ever since we started getting more into camping, and my wife's family started getting more into camping, we've done an annual fall camping trip. So usually our first one of the year is Memorial Day, as it is for most people who camp. And our last one is typically late September, early October. We've done, well, actually, 2 years in a row, we did like Houghton Hancock. 1 year we camped in Hancock, 1 year we camped in Houghton. Last year we did the Porcupine Mountains, stayed at Union Bay and saw Lake of the Clouds and what was the name of the falls we saw? Forgetting what the name of the falls was, but anyway, we did that. And then this year we kind of went to the Keweenaw, but more of the base of the Keweenaw. So I guess kind of the southwestern Houghton County. I don't know. Anyway, we went to Twin Lakes. Twin Lakes isn't really even a town, but there's a state park there. You and me have been there multiple times on snowmobiles. That's sort of a popular. It's probably more popular in the winter than it is in the summer. So we went there. That's where we based from. A couple of the highlights. I'm going to start with the fishing thing. So I mentioned I fished brook trout. So this past May, we talked about this in our first episode. Kyle and I and a friend of ours, we fished Clear Lake in Houghton County, which is the state record brook trout lake. Again, I don't typically name trout lakes like that, but for one that's not a secret, there's no sense in trying to hide it. And if you can catch a fish there, then good luck to you. So that's what I was saying. I saw 3 fish, and I got excited because it was a very cold morning. It was around the freezing mark. Really pretty color, sun coming up over the trees. Spent a couple hours out there, tried all my tricks. I do a lot of trolling. I've taken a lot of, and we'll probably talk about this in an episode probably toward the trout opener next spring, I would think. But a lot of the techniques I use now in my kayak are actually techniques that are really popular, like in the Adirondack Mountains of New York, where they also have stocked brook trout lakes. Ontario, Canada, and a lot of the stocked lakes there. None of those techniques worked, and so I was almost ready to start heading in. We had kind of a full day of, fall activities planned. I casted a number 2 MEPS spinner, just a plain silver spinner, nothing fancy about it. Basically right in a shore, kind of under a fallen log. And I actually got a follow from 2 fish. One of them was smaller, probably a recently stocked one. But one, alright, I might exaggerate because I love brook trout, but I'm gonna say it was over 15 inches. It was a decent sized fish. Again, followed, didn't actually bite. I did have one bite from a smaller fish. Again, probably one of this year's stockers. Fun fact, I looked at the stocking dates. They actually stocked it like the week before we went there in May. So those fish we were catching, with a bobber. Those were like literally stocked in the lake the week before we got there. My experience with lakes that have crystal clear water, there's another one that we've fished before, and I've had absolutely zero success open water fishing it. But ice fishing season is when we've had a little luck there. Unfortunately, Clear Lake, ever since that state record fish back in '96, is no longer open for ice fishing. So you basically you need small tackle and like an invisible leader, and I think then you might do okay. All right, that's enough of that. What else did we do and see? We saw a little waterfall, um, Wyandotte Falls. I don't know if I'm saying that right. There's a golf course in Twin Lakes, and it's just down the road from that. Really pretty little fall over some mossy rocks. On the Misery River. What's the name of the river? We saw the Painesdale mine shaft in Painesdale, which is an old mine shaft. And it's open for self-guided tours, but they also have volunteers there that will give you a tour. So we had a guy who was very knowledgeable, who wanted to talk a very long time. Cool fact about that mine is toward the end of its life, they had drilled into this aquifer, and it started flooding the bottom levels of the mine, and so they needed to fix that. And of course, pumping water out gets expensive and pricey. And this is, the early mid 1900s, sort of later in the lifespan of the mine. Anyways, they ended up creating like a drainage basin for that water to drain into, and apparently that's where Adams Township gets their drinking water, and they sell it to the city of Hancock. So that was a fun fact. After that, we drove sort of into the middle of nowhere to a place called Askell. Find it on a map. To the Honka Finnish Homestead Museum. So the Honka Homestead, it's an old farmhouse and homestead, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Just a few miles inland from like the Baraga Chassel area. It's actually not far, like in a straight line, but the roads, you kind of got to drive around the Sturgeon River and stuff. And there was a guy there, volunteer, who gave us a very nice tour. We were the only people there during the tour, which was really nice because, he was able to explain stuff really well. We got to see, there were a lot of different buildings. There was kind of a lot of stuff dedicated to like cows and milking and making butter and stuff. There actually was a little wooden shack built over this creek with a hole cut in the bottom, and they would actually keep the milk cold down in that creek, which is kind of cool. There was something called a Sava sauna, or a smoke sauna, which is a traditional, very old type of sauna that predates, the more modern design of having like a wood burning stove with hot rocks. This actually, you'd make a fire just on the ground underneath this pile of rocks, and the thing doesn't have a chimney. So you make a fire, it gets super smoky inside. You go in, you throw water on the rocks to make steam. The way it was explained to me is that the steam chases the smoke out. There's a window, there's no chimney, there's a window you open, so you throw the steam, open the window, you kind of let the smoke go out, and you would take your sauna before the rocks cooled off.
I'm having a lot of trouble envisioning that.
Well, because when you would initially walk into it, you would feed the fire from outside, from a hole kind of in the bottom of the outside.
How do you build a fire under a pile of rocks?
Well, it's not. It's open. It's not like totally enclosed by the rocks. It's like you have your fire, and then you have sort of a open dome of rocks built around it.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. The other neat thing was in that sauna, they actually had a rack, like a wire rack, placed above the rocks and the wood, where they would get two birds stoned at once, and they would actually smoke food, like smoked fish and whatever else. There was the farmhouse which had everything was really restored nicely, and decorated the way it would have been and stuff. And this place was occupied by this family from the late 1890s until the mid 1960s. The last person in the family who lived there until like 1966. Trying to think if there was anything else noteworthy there. I mean, it's definitely like stepping back in time. I had a similar experience touring the old town at Fayette State Park down on the Garden Peninsula. Very much like that, with stuff kind of restored to how it would have been in those days, and yeah, definitely worth seeing. And then we took a chairlift tour at Mount Ripley, and it was really windy, and saw some awesome sights. Get a nice view of the Portage Canal and the whole cityscape there. And then that was about it. That was pretty much the end of the weekend. Had a great dinner at the Parkview Lodge right across from the campground. Stopped at the Hilltop on the way down. Got some sweet rolls. It's good. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Colors were maybe just a little past peak. I think out of the areas I've seen this year personally or through people's pictures, I actually think Marquette County has had probably the best colors. I know some areas out east are like just peaking now, and it seems like that area west of here peaked a little bit before we went there, because there were some trees that were quite bare, and everything had shifted from the nice reds and oranges to a lot of sort of rusty orange and yellow.
I've noticed it's pretty orange around, well, I say here, I guess I'm thinking that earlier today I was down around Michigami. But I'll consider that Marquette County still, even though it's not super representative of the whole county, but it's really orange. Crystal Falls, which is kind of close-ish to where I was last weekend at bird camp, extremely yellow, just neon yellow and a splash of green here and there. I mean, that was a week ago too, so it might be a little darker now, but
yeah, it's amazing how as you go inland, the colors change so much faster and different. Like right now, I took a drive out to Presque Isle in Marquette this week, and there was still a lot of green on the island. I mean, there were some really bright reds and oranges and stuff, but yeah, it's interesting. Interesting to see what we see in the woods tomorrow too. A lot of hardwoods. The area, this parcel of CFR land, a lot of hardwoods, and then it sort of goes down a hill, and there are some swampier areas with some conifers too. But it'd be interesting to see how many leaves are left, and yeah, if there's still a little bit of color. Anything else on the docket for tonight?
no.
I can't believe I got into that thing. Especially when they did the little time change thing. Like I didn't think I was gonna get in, but I'm in. So you'll hear me come back to that from time to time. I did pick up a new fat tire bike. Not new to me. It's used. It's not really an upgrade in terms of like components or like build quality, but it's a little bit bigger frame size, and I don't know. I'm gonna try to upgrade a few of the parts, see how it goes. So, fat tire bike.
It's around the corner.
Yeah, it was snowing today. Most of it soaked in. But oh, did you see? Oh, last thing. We can end on this note. I was looking at TV6 earlier. They had a weather graphic, and So Sunday night into Monday, the Marquette County area, Berga County, are gonna get between 4 and 8 inches of snow.
It doesn't surprise me too much.
12
It
to
was
15 in some of the highlands.
practically blizzarding today out on the back roads and some maze of logging roads between Michigami and we were aiming for South Republic.
Wait, did you bird hunt today?
Yeah.
You see anything?
I heard one.
Well, somebody said, I was reading the comments on that weather post, and somebody said this will be great for bird hunting because it'll knock a lot of the leaves down. So, take that for what it's worth. All right, I guess if you don't have anything else, I'm good.
Yeah,
we're
I'm good.
going to be at it again tomorrow morning, bright and early. Probably post some pictures and video on our Instagram. If you don't follow us. We're Saturday Sauna Night. That's our handle. And we're also on YouTube. And if you want to listen to audio only without having to look at us, you can listen on Anchor and Spotify podcasts.
Cool.
This has been Saturday Sauna Night. I'm Steve.
I am Kyle.
Thanks for listening.